Hey guys, it's Oakley, and we're going to be doing sub-commanders. In the past, we've done these for Rome 2, for Attila. This time, we're going to be trying it out in Napoleon, and man, it's a different change of pace. It's a different piece altogether, and it's very fun. So for those of you who don't know the concept, basically you have 3v3, where each player on the different armies commands a specific component of that army, and together they form a massive army together. It functions like the traditional Total War combined with Arena, so it makes for a very, very interesting and historically accurate gameplay. So for the line infantry on our team, it's going to be France, and this is going to be Mark is going to be leading the line infantry only. Codename Kids Next Door is going to be tasked with the artillery and skirmisher division. So no real restrictions on this. You can bring however many of each that you wanted. And then myself, I'm going to be fielding the cavalry force. We did have a limit, however, on the shooter gun cab because that can be a bit overwhelming. So a lot of lancers and cuirassiers is what you're going to be seeing today. Heavy horse and things like that. On the other side, Gregorius is going to be bringing the British line infantry in all their glory. Captain Cowley is going to be bringing the artillery and skirmishers. You can see some of his howitzers in front of you. And also a lot of the green jackets and other units taking position up in front of their force. And then finally, Krupa is going to be fielding the cavalry, lots of dragoons. Anyways, that's it. We're going to hop into the battle here in just a sec. Stay tuned. So our main goal as the French in deploying here was to put a massive cavalry wing over on the right. So we have a bunch of these lanceurs who are going to be guarding this position with some chasseurs cheval. So this is supposed to be an aggressive push. In the back, we're sending a bunch of our artillerie à cheval to back that up. So we're deciding to have an aggressive right wing with deployable artillery, pushing up with some voltigeur to back that up, and then a lot more of my Dutch guard lancers. Basically a heavy cav and artillery push, gearing up on the right. Over through the center, we have a massive line of chasseurs with some line infantry backing them up, interspersed with some 12-pounders all along the line. We are sending some more Polish Legion and heavy infantry to push on the right. Cavalry holding in the back, some lancers, and then over on our left flank, the French are going to be held down by the Old Guard on the extreme left, and then a lot of line here. You can see not much in the way of defense. Now up against us, the British are sending a lot of cavalry, very cavalry heavy on the right flank, not so much infantry, so they're sending their own foot. Deployed down through the center, they've moved up with 2 of their 6-pounder horse artilleries. Rapid deployment to try and push us back on the right. In the center, they also have most of their light infantry and a thin line of foot troops. This is going to be the bulk of their artillery positioning up through the center. 2 of these howitzers positioned through here. 3 actually groups of howitzers, so a big battery position right through here, an advanced position of 9-pounder foot artillery guarded by rifles, so a nice cluster of artillery to beat back our rapid approach on that flank. And then they have a ton of cavalry, so lots of cavalry on the British side and on the French side. That is what makes this battle epic. You can look on the overhead how both sides have a lot of cavalry hiding in the rear. The concentration of batteries is kind of facing off against one another. So on the map where we're looking at right here, this is where you see the predominance of the British batteries starting to line up. And now, yep, looks like they've staked their positions in the ground. The howitzers are going to start to line up. And the battle is now actually underway, so the batteries are already starting to open up. As the French shots get in, we're actually going to catch the British by surprise. They're going to start to answer us. Go ahead and reduce this map.
Infantry reporting.
So now you start to see the engagement coming across still as the troops are deploying. This is going to be ridiculously epic. Batteries coming across, and we're looking to get some lucky shots against these howitzer batteries. Some shots whizzing overhead. That is going to be the main extreme range combat getting underway. Let's see, actually a couple of lucky shots there hitting one of the batteries, so that is underway. The rest of the main line here starting to get into position. This artillery battery also has been sighted by the French guns. It's going to be taking some fire. Line infantry is moving up on this flank. The tremendous British dragoon force is going to start facing off against us. French line here going to be waiting for that approach. Down through the center, batteries are going to be doing their work. We've withdrawn our cavalry from the rear of these positions where they're starting to get hammered. You can see the counter batteries coming in. This is dangerous for anyone left behind here, so that's why we withdrew some of our cavalry. A couple of them, I believe, did get hit here and there. So we're going to be hammering, if you were to look on the map, hammering the two British positions where those units are flashing. That is where we're sending most of our fire, and the main goal of that is to suppress that line, make for the approach. So here comes my chasseurs cheval and lanceur coming up. Now it's not going to go unnoticed. The British are going to try and target us, but in doing so they're going to pull away their artillery fire from the counter battery fire that they would like to do. That's going to give us an edge. And look all down our line, we're going to be peppering that approach. In the far rear of this position, we're holding back our artillerie à cheval, waiting for the engagement to get underway. Look at all our forces moving forward. The clouds, billowing smoke from the gunpowder weapons already starting to go. And now we've given the go-ahead for artillery to come up in close support. So now they're going to move up to an advanced position, move up with the general staff and some of our Polish guard and heavy units waiting to push through there. As we make our approach, we have a thick swath of voltigeurs here starting to push up, accompanied by some young guard. So far, no British light troops have engaged just yet. Looks like they're going to be trying to hold out against their positions. They've staked up a nice spot. And now they're going to start to fire all up across our positions. This is going to force our cavalry to get scattered. And the howitzers actually soon are going to start to retrain their fire on that side. So there go some of the shots starting to shower down on our guys. The artillery is going to move into position right at this tree line, just at the extreme range of the howitzer, so we're hoping to post up here and suppress the enemy lines before we move in. We don't want to deal with canister shot. The light cav here is going to start moving up just to threaten anything and sweep anything away in front of us. But the enemy cavalry here, definitely vast in number and superior to us, so we have to be careful. Howitzer is now retraining most of their shots over on our guys, so we're going to start taking some punishing fire. On the right side, the enemy force is trying to move up aggressively with the 6-pounders here, horse-drawn. However, they're going to be taking concentrated fire from our 12-pounders, who are going to be far exceeding these guys in capability. And with the advantage we have of early shots, we're already going to start routing some of those crews. So there you go. We seem to be winning the artillery engagement, which is forcing the British to start pushing forward. So the main fight is now going to start to get underway on this right side. Actually, it looks like they've decided to remount. In this case, we took a couple losses. We're still out of not in the best range. The troops have outpaced our guys because of the light defense that the British have put up. However, they are going to start, making me bite my words, because they're going to be sending out some cavalry forces right here, and they were trying to catch our hussars. Unfortunately, we did have some close support of the squares, so we're going to shut down this assault pretty quickly. It did have the potential to knock out a bunch of our light infantry, but thankfully the close support of the Polish Legion here on this flank is going to prove crucial. So there you go, we shut that one down. We had some of our own cavalry here ready for support to chase those guys down. It is going to draw, however, the the attention of the batteries here, which are going to start to retarget here. And look at all of the craters starting to form on this side. This is going to be dangerous, but look at the swarm of action happening here. Pretty devastating shots as we get up close, so we have to make the most of it. Cavalry going to be launching an assault forward just to try and suppress this flank as our artillery moves up and our skirmishers move up. We wanted to make sure that we took out the advanced British lines. They're going to try and form up into square. This is very much like Waterloo. So massive cavalry assaults down through the center. Some of them are going to hit, so we're going to knock out key components of the enemy force. However, they're going to countercharge into our own lines on this front. These are some of my own cavalry. Actually, don't be confused. The British are in close pursuit. However, we're going to draw back behind our own lines and get a nice exchange against them. They're going to continue to push through. We have enough heavy lines here to support our main lines. Now we're going to withdraw. We did enough to kind of crush the British force, push them back, force them to, reform behind their positions here. And now look at the shots starting to get underway. This is all coming from the battery here. That was the principle behind our assault right through there, was to kind of give a time to reposition and deploy for the artillery, and now we can start launching our batteries, suppress that position. Cavalry is going to be drawing back and reforming, and in particular we're going to be targeting the enemy cavalry force. We know if we can take these guys out, then the infantry behind them will be easy to take out and swarm, so that is our priority. Seems to be doing pretty well. The British are going to be repositioning most of their guns to deal with our flank here. Up through the center, the British are reforming, pushing forward with their light troops, mix of rangers, foot guards in the mix. So this is a potent force. So we're moving forward. However, the British have been deprived of most of their artillery batteries. A couple of them still getting some nice shots off against our guys. It's going to be ricocheting, taking out some of our chevaux légers in the back. So we're going to have to disperse. But for the most part, our 12-pounder batteries basically untouched. So at a range, we're forcing the British to advance. Chevaux légers trying to move forward, but they're going to take tremendous fire. So that's going to force our cavalry to the flanks, which is where our infantry is. They're going to be going up against some of these dragoons, so this could be deadly. Let's go back and see what's happening in the center. My cavalry have found a nice little gap that they want to exploit here. The enemy skirmishers getting well ahead of their support, so we did take some fire on the assault. But now we're going to close and disrupt this formation. Force this entire line back, even closing on some of the foot troops here. So this is going to be a perfect engagement with the cav. Some of my own gun cav there in the distance going to be shooting. They're going to form up into square. Just fine. We're just here to disrupt this force. This is going to allow our own units to move back up quickly and allow our batteries to now focus fire on some elite units. You can see here the artillery focusing on these squares, so just like at Waterloo, force the infantry into squares and then punish them with artillery batteries. On this side, the British have pushed through. And so this side has been severely diminished. The British rifles tearing us apart, some lines through here. The dragoons being fed in wave after wave, coming after our guys, battering them down. So we have our own chasseurs cheval and other units trying to rally our forces. It looks like we finally were able to put up a stake line, so this is going to be great for holding up the enemy force. Most of them dying at the feet of our men, but still the rest plowing through, forcing us into square. The enemy doing the same thing with their artillery batteries, and just more and more cavalry being fed into this engagement. Let's go back and watch what's happening in the center. The rifles pushing forward, trying to snipe our guys. And over on this front, cavalry here, unsupported, is no match for our Swiss foot and Old Guard. So even though we just have infantry on this front, the lack of enemy rifles and light troops means that we can continue to push forward. And even a heavy cavalry assault with 3 full units was obliterated. So we're getting a severe advantage here. We're going to start curling in on the British line, putting a pinch on enemy units that get pushed out to the extreme. So here we go. We're going to be forcing this flank, and this is going to be the story of this engagement here. Units that do get out in the open are subject to charges from our Lancer cav, which is why I'm repositioning some Lancers through here. The main line is now going to start to engage, taking fire from the superior range rifles. Means we're going to have to engage relatively soon. on this front, the brave, the elite units here are going to be suppressing the enemy force, pushing forward. Just tons of damage being dealt over here. We're going to go ahead and cut away to a pan that shows what has happened on this side. So we'll cut to that just so you're sure you didn't miss the action.
Our men are running, sir. Our men are running, sir.
So as you can tell, a lot has been happening on the battlefield. We are now back to this engagement, which you saw the tumultuous back and forth that happened here. We're going to go back to when the British main line here came and was dealing with our own units, just so you can see what happened on the overhead. We popped a rally just after the British light dragoons crashed into our artillery batteries here. A couple of our men trying to stand and get canister shots off, but they're going to just continue to rampage through our lines. Lots of damage being dealt. We're going to send a counteroffensive through here with our own cavalry to support and crush that. So the idea here, hit them where they're weak, avoid the stakes, and now just start charging up through the line. British dragoons are going to be pulled back. You can see just look how many more dragoon guards and other units they have to reinforce. But anyways, we're tying this force down just to relieve the pressure, dealing with the cavalry at our rear, trying to reform this position. So that's going well. More of the cuirassiers, heavy cav here, now engaged. They're going to be meant for the long-term engagements once the chasseurs get in the fight. Legions, geez, this is just chaotic. Young Guard here going to be excellent for allowing our cav to reform. So here comes our cav pulling back behind the lines. The enemy is going to draw up, fearful of what could happen. But we do lose an allied general in that engagement. So that's what you saw on that flank. Over through the center, we're basically just holding the enemy at bay with a huge line of chasseurs, not allowing it to push forward, and just letting the batteries chip away at the enemy force in the center. Here they're trying to deal at extreme range, so they do outrange us. However, it's going to take a long time to chip through that massive flank. Meanwhile, what's been happening over here is I have sent some of my own cavalry over on this side to help disrupt this force. My lanceurs here are here to reinforce. The enemy is trying to do the same with their own dragoons reforming, but without the backup of infantry, who is now on the run, cavalry engagements like this are going to be fruitless. And even one light lancer force can do tremendous damage. So here you go, as the British try and retreat from our lines, clean sweep, cut through the back, and now the Polish Legion are going to be ready to start unleashing on them. So like I said, this is going to allow us to start curling up this flank, putting more and more pressure. The heavy dragoon guards are going to be pulled back to this flank. Looks like we're going to be going after the general in that case. Up through the center, we have decided to push through with our massive line, so let's go ahead and get a nice overhead shot of that. So as we continue to curl up this side here, the main engagement down the center is underway, where even though the British outrange us, we have more in number, so now we decide to close the ranks. And this is what it's like, view from the ground. Just billowing clouds here. Now that we're closing in, it's going to be really good in terms of the action here. Now I've deployed some of my guard lancers, the last reserves, so good coordination on my part with the allies. They are here to swarm through with the infantry, tie down the enemy, and then now I can deploy with my units. So the guard lancers here, some of them getting reared up, but it's just going to mean that I can choose a better target. So we're going to disengage and pull back. Cavalry, you can see here, being launched on all parts. The enemy had more line units than us, but because the cavalry were launched into here, oh man, we got a last canister shot into this cluster. So yeah, doing everything to coordinate the artillery, the infantry, and the cavalry here to try and wreck these last couple of units. Looks like the British are going to break through here, but again, dealing with our stake lines has proved a problem. The Polish Guard Lancers here charged to delay the assault of 2 entire Dragoon and Dragoon Guard units, so this could be, potentially dangerous for us. So what these Polish Guard units did was sacrifice themselves in a charge here. Actually 3 entire units, so we wiped out half of one of them. Actually wiped out, half of 2 of them, so almost took out a whole unit. And we're going to be continuing to pursue them, so by stemming that tide there, we're able to gain time for our units here to close into close quarter combat and maybe even rally on this side. But this is down to the nub. The British batteries have somehow survived, so this is going to be to their advantage on this side. Howitzers still firing away at the main battle lines. Up through the center, the Dragoon Guards are pulling back because look how much fire we're putting on them. Concentrated fire from the Voltigale, and now this full battery here now focusing on the infantry. They're going to try and do a countercharge with some cavalry here. The general developing a rally ability. So now we can see as they cross no man's land, and this is why we really needed some support at the last minute. And this is where the coordination of the 2 different branches of the military come into play. Here comes my own cavalry here. Some reserves there to countercharge his men. A couple more brought in here to tie down the enemy force. So they're going to be committing a lot to this fight. He's trying to push through, trying to get to our artillery. The howitzer is just slamming our guys. So this is non-stop back and forth. And yeah, here we go. We chased those guys down, broke them up. So this is dangerous. But they are, you know, they did win the right side. We've been forced to retreat. The last remnants of our units here holding up, but obliterated. So we did actually lose the right side. Our general's units, a bunch of them, Maréchal Soult being pulled back on the right. The battery here exposed, so we're trying to reform. However, on the left, where batteries are still putting pressure on the enemy, we're doing well. Gonna get some overwhelming fire on these forces. And the horse guard there, not able to withstand the pressure that we put on them. They really need some more skirmishers. Empress Dragoons from the French. Actually, this is my unit, still alive. They were doing lots of damage here. Pulled back. Looks like the enemy is going to get a nice charge into our forces. But more importantly, my Empress Dragoons here are going to be chasing away the general, preventing them from doing any, morale regeneracy to these guys. So this is going to leave them vulnerable. The British are going to be charging forward with lots of lines at our artillery battery. This could prove dangerous because this is what's holding down this flank. So we're desperately going to try and change targets. My own guy is coming back in at the last moment. We're going to hold back that force right through there. And some more chevaux lanceurs, excuse me. Going to slow these guys down. You can see the morale teetering. And there you go. Finally, we're able to close out those guys, but not before a couple of them do make it to the gun crew without, some of them even being blasted point blank. So we've, in essence, saved the artillery on this flank, which is obviously very, very beneficial because Coldstream Guard, elite units were going to push on this flank, while the center is still at a deadlock. The howitzers, now that they've been able to kind of focus fire on our guys, have decimated this line. The British are now resurgent on this flank, pushing forward. They're going to start to do more damage on these positions if the howitzers can go uncontested. But little pockets of resistance here being just blown up by our forces. My Empress Dragoons that we were following a moment earlier have continued to charge into the rear of these forces. It's going to break them. The old guard here being crucial, and now we have a last little pocket of British troops. They don't even know where to go, but we have them fully surrounded. Foot guards, and there you go. They have broken. So that is it. We've eliminated this pocket. I can pop on the map so you can see the French here encroaching on all sides. Over on this flank, we're moving full force with some Polish legions going at the extreme ranges. Old Guard here leading the charge. We're going to try and suppress the last of the British batteries. Their front line here has reformed into a relatively good position, but I've charged forward with some of my own cavalry to disrupt the enemy retreat. That's exactly where you want to use your cavalry. And on this flank, the British do have a lot of line units moving forward. We have some cavalry and only one Swiss foot, so they could overpower us here. Same in this position, they can overpower us, so it is by far, not over for the British. However, the main thorn that they have is they don't quite have the cavalry reserves that they would need. If they had a couple cavalry forces, they could sweep into this position and really just tie down and knock back our old guard. The fact that they don't means that they're going to have to contend with our guys, and this is going to be a deadly, deadly fight for them. Any corner of their infantry is going to be swept upon by our units, so continuously forced back to reform their lines. It's going to be dangerous. Over here, we're moving some of our artillery forward, knowing that they're going to remass for another assault here. And what we want to do is have at least one forward artillery position to get canister shots off and protect the rest of our batteries here. British morale has seemingly settled for the remainder of their troops. Some of them are breaking in the back, but the rest are in the green. The general here, just general staff trying to pace back and forth on top of this hill, rallying his men. He knows that this is the crucial component, and he's going to actually be taking some artillery fire, so this could be very, very deadly. But man, this light chasseur main line that we have here, British not being able to contend with this just because we have so many units there putting on the pressure. It's going to be hard for them to break back, and exactly where you need the cavalry. Here comes the cuirassier, excuse me, coming in. So I decided to save my heavy cav for the last engagement. This is exactly where heavy cav was used historically, and it's great to see it in these sub-commanders battles really play out as they would. So there you go, chasing down the retreating troops. Again, forcing them into square. Over here, ooh, brutal charge with the Dutch Guard Lancers into the enemy force that was trying to push up. So it knocked out an entire unit in one charge. There goes a foot unit. They are now broken. The rest of the forces here, we're trying to close in on our artillery, but I believe we're going to get some canister shot here. Yeah, just tearing into that square. Ooh, more canister shots. We had positioned them on both flanks, and look at this otherwise healthy British line now absolutely thrashed. The cavalry in the rear waiting to charge back in. And we may even get a final volley against these guys. Coldstream Yard not likely to break. Yeah, so they're going to take out one of our batteries. The other one charging gloriously into our lines, but forced back. Here they weren't so lucky. Canister shot getting off. Line infantry getting into them. And now the Dutch Guard Lancers, now that they've broken through on the flank, this is the disarray that they want to exploit. Boom, the last British line that was going to try and hold off the French here, getting charged on all sides. The general here seeing his men wavering on all sides. This is not good. And that is the signal for the French to push up. So here they go. Our light infantry commander going to be pushing forward. I can go ahead and close this so we get the best of the cinematics. Closing in on this line. Over in the back, the cuirassiers continue to break through. And now they're going after the gun batteries. Perhaps the last hope of the British. And there you have it. Ooh, we're going to have a massive sandwich. So here come the Dutch Guard Lancers again, proving their worth. So despite us having, tons and tons of cavalry in the beginning of the fight, you can see at the end there's only about 2-3 cavalry units, but the players that have those cavalry units at the end here being able to clean up the enemy forces. So overall, a tremendously fun battle. I had never done sub-commanders. Oh, and here comes the general doing a sacrificial charge against the French line. Glorious till the end. But like I was saying, sub-commanders battles are something that I had first kind of tried out with Rome 2 and Attila. Proved to be fun. But when you try it out with Napoleon, it plays amazingly. It plays so well. It plays very historically. Just because you get the huge cavalry numbers that you would have had in reality, you have huge gun batteries, and because each player is playing, by his own, it requires coordination, and it's just really, really cool. When a player can focus solely on cavalry, like myself, you get these nice charges. You can focus on, because I only have cavalry, I have to focus on making them the most effective possible. Whereas if you have a mix of troops, then you're thinking, okay, I'll use cavalry a little bit for a charge, and then I'll pull back, and then I'll deal with my main line, and I'll have that happening. So your cavalry is mostly idle, whereas in this game, you saw cavalry charging all up and down the line throughout the game. So that is why I recommend you guys check this out. Very epic. So here comes the British last stand, and they're going to be closed out. Old Guard here, but I think this is where the final finishing blow is going to come from these chasseurs. They're devastating the line. So the British here now having fully broken, I believe, just 1 foot unit, but yeah, just machine gun down essentially at the end. So this is how Sub-Commanders and Napoleon Total War is meant to be played. I really hope you guys can go ahead and check this out. It was tons and tons and tons of fun. Really had a good time. We could see the kills here being spread out. I think Maspal doing a good amount of kills myself, 689 for only 738 deployed, so not getting the best KD. We're just barely doing more kills, but I think better than Captain Cowley, who had the enemy cavalry. So overall, really, really fun. Devastatingly beautiful when pulled off, because usually what happens when you have 3 players on each team fighting as their own army, you have mini armies fighting next to one another. This was one massive army that you saw fighting cohesively with major engagements on the flanks. And in the center, the artillery batteries like I've never seen, counter-battering, suppressing, doing stuff that I've never seen in multiplayer before. So this was definitely very enjoyable, very fun for my part, and I hope to bring you more of these in the future. Hope you guys enjoyed, and Emperor Dragoons raking in the kills. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.